Spider-Man 2 has got to be one of the most controversial games to release in recent memory. When it came out, this game was praised so much, you'd have thought it was the cure for cancer. The story was perfect, the gameplay was perfect, and Spider-Man 2 could do no wrong. But then something happened.
And the game of the year is Baldur's Gate 3.
Defeat.
Then, all of a sudden, the game was rushed, and there's like a million videos on YouTube saying it was disappointing. What the f? Everyone switched up on this game except for me. I have been a hater of this game since day one. I cannot tell you how absolutely insane I felt watching the non-stop glaze this game was getting, because I honestly think this game fails at almost every level. So sit back, grab some snacks, and let me tell you why I hate Spider-Man 2. Subscribe, please! The web swinging in this game is okay. Yeah, no, man, it's pretty good. I think they pushed their system pretty much as far as they could in this game. It's flashy, crazy fast, and the web wings are cool. But I still don't love it. I don't know, man. I just feel like these games have kind of optimized and baby-proofed a lot of the depth out of web swinging. So after just a couple minutes, you could pretty much master everything. And I have this section at the beginning because it's not really the game's fault, but I do think this kind of looks over depth approach is one of those really cringe baby-proofing things big companies like to do to make money. Kind of like bots in Fortnite.
Dude, take my picture!
I gotta level with y'all. Even with me being the resident hater of this game, I have to admit that this game's combat is really fun. It just feels so good to dumpster each and every one of these fools into next year with this move that definitely kills people. But there are a couple things in here that are not only stupid, but genuinely kneecap this game's combat system. Case in point, the way the abilities work is that you get 8 abilities for both main characters, and you get to assign 1 ability to each face button. So what's the problem here? Well, as it stands, each ability is completely independent of the health bar, the focus bar, and each other. So now instead of having just 2 bars to manage, you have a whopping 6! It's too much and it's completely unnecessary. But the greatest sin this system commits is that it's just really boring. Say you're surrounded by a group of enemies. Which ability should you use? Trick question. The answer is all of them. Since all of the abilities are independent from everything else, including each other, you just use every ability the second it comes off cooldown without having to think, because it doesn't matter which one is better if I can just use all of them. But the worst part about this system, and what really grinds my gears, is the fact that they already had a better system in the game right before this one. The way it worked in Miles Morales is the abilities are all tied to the focus meter, and this fixes every problem I had with the abilities and then some. Because instead of just using everything immediately, you have to actually choose which ability would be best for the situation, or you could just use it to heal instead. It's so good, and it's insane how they saw this perfect system and unironically said,
Do my own thing.
Also, while we're on the subject of abilities, why does Peter have nanomachine iron spider legs? Like, seriously, why? First off, it makes no sense he'd even be able to afford to make these, and that's not even taking into account that he would have had to invent nanomachines in his fucking garage. Meanwhile, him and Otto needed a whole lab and years of research just to make some hands that barely worked at the start of the game. The worst part is, they didn't even try to explain it. They're just here now, I guess. But the spider arms are symptomatic of the biggest problem that holds the gameplay back from being spectacular. They were afraid to make Miles and Peter play differently. Now, it might not sound like a big deal on paper, but in practice, this is a huge deal. Because A, it leads to shit like Super Saiyan Spider-Man. And B, outside the visuals, there is no difference between how Miles and Peter play. Instead of embracing what makes these characters different through gameplay, they just force them to play the same. It's not like it's impossible, just up Peter's base damage and give him access to gadgets that are actually fun to use, and make it to where Miles' abilities charge faster and hit harder, and that would have been enough. But no, they just threw in some goofy ass nanotech in there and called it a day. I don't know, maybe they just wanted to give Peter exaggerated swagger too. I'm bundling these two together because in this game, they actively hinder each other. So the way leveling up worked in the first game is that your stats would just increase whenever you got more levels. Like whenever you leveled up, you'd get like 5% more health, stuff like that. And it would also make suits available for unlock the more levels you got. Then you unlock suits by doing side missions to get tokens to buy whatever suit you want. It was simple, to the point, and gave the game a really good sense of progression. So naturally, they looked at this perfect system and decided to shoot themselves in the foot. And what they did is they made it to where you had to buy your passive buffs. And this actually changes a lot more than you'd think. So in the first game, the buffs were a big part of progression. But the reason they worked as well as they did is that they worked in the background. And they were subtle enough to where you didn't immediately notice, but big enough to where you could feel yourself getting stronger throughout the game. That and the suit system combined to give you an excellent sense of progression. But since you have to purchase the upgrades with the same currency you buy suits with, you have to choose between upgrading your character or upgrading your drip. So the system that worked in perfect harmony before is now ripping itself apart to compete for your hero tokens. And what makes this even worse is they didn't increase the value of the upgrades at all. Like, remember how I said the upgrades worked so well because they were subtle? Well, in this game, that actually makes it worse. Because you have to pay for them, barely being able to notice the upgrade feels like shit. Speaking of shit, let's talk about suits and suit powers real quick. So, half the reason collecting suits in the first game was so rewarding was because almost every suit you got would come with a special ultimate ability. And it was so fun playing around with all the abilities, and it made you excited to collect all the suits. Because even if you didn't like the suit, you'd still get a sick ultimate ability from it. But now, they're replaced with Symbiote Surge, which just turns the game into a press square simulator. It doesn't begin to hold a candle to the powers that the last game had. Not to mention the suit selection in this game, for Peter especially, is just kinda bad. They just left out a bunch of suits from the last game, and instead just flooded his selection with every movie suit. Like, gee, thanks guys, I really wanted to be Tech Core Spider-Man over any of these other cool and unique suits.
Hand me down the shark repellent bat spray.
The gadgets in this game are a major step down from Spider-Man 1. I remember seeing somewhere in an interview that the developers wanted to balance the gadgets so they're less of an instant win button, and I can respect that, but I don't think annihilating every fun gadget from the game was a play, guys. The best gadget here is definitely the web grabber. It's fun, chaotic, and would feel right at home in the first game. Good job, Insomniac. The ricochet web is fine. It's kind of carried by how amazing it is at taking care of those annoying green symbiotes, but other than that, it's just okay. The concussion blast is the only returning gadget from the first game, but it's bad now. Instead of just blasting a dude into next week from your wrist-mounted air bazooka, you just shoot out these little air grenades instead. It's just so much less fun this way, and I think I know why. In the first game, in order to get the most out of this gadget, you kind of had to have the enemies within punching distance, but in this game, you just kind of shoot it at them and then it explodes, which ironically makes it less interactive than it was before. What genuinely baffles me though is that if they just didn't change it, this gadget would have been 10 times better in this game than it was in the first game. Let me explain. So in this game, they modify the concussion blast with a bell noise to fight the symbiotes, but since the symbiotes are so fast and aggressive, it would have made it way more engaging to get in close enough to blast them away, instead of just shitting out a JBL speaker with thick of it loaded up.
From the screen to the ring to the pen to the king.
Next up is, oh Jesus, I don't even want to talk about the upshot. It's useless and does not make me feel like Spider-Man. 0 out of 10. Really bad.
That looks like a good place to make my first delivery.
This was probably the most disappointing part of the game for me personally, except for Venom. I had such high hopes for the side activities, especially the random crimes. I figured if they were going to improve anywhere, it would have been here. And I was very, 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 very wrong. Let's start with the missions I actually like. Grandpa Howard and the enemy bases. These missions are just great, and I can't find it in my heart to complain about them. Everything else though. Starting with the EMF missions, they all suck, except for the one where you have to get high enough in the air to deploy pollen, I think. That one mission is the closest we get to a traversal challenge in this game, so that has to count for something. 2 out of 10. Next up is the missions at Miles of School that I can't pronounce for some reason. And yeah, no, these all suck. Listen, there's a fine line between being a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man and helping the little guy and doing homework for them. And I'm not exaggerating, we literally do their homework for them in one of the missions, and I genuinely have no idea how this made it into the final game. 1 out of 10. The Kraven drones, they're really mid. They're not bad or anything, but it really does just boil down to moving the left stick and avoiding bombs. 5 out of 10. The Sandman missions are also kinda in the same boat here. Now I'm the last person to complain about a mission being just go to place and fight things, but the problem with these missions is that there are only 2 different enemies, and it can get really repetitive after only 2 or 3 of these bad boys, and it really doesn't help that you can figure out the entire story after like 2 missions. Also 5 out of 10. The Mysterio challenges are also pretty good, and the boss fight is cool, but it makes no sense why Peter can't do the challenges. But if I'm being honest, they play so similarly, I can see why they just didn't bother. 7 out of 10. Photo ops are just the landmark quests from the first game, but worse since you have to stop to do most of them, as opposed to in the first game how you can just kind of pow 4 out of 10. This one is just really boring, and oh my god, why do they insist on having so much of the side content in this Spider-Man video game be about doing non-Spider-Man shit, like riding bikes or piloting bee drones? It's so frustrating. Also, I can't get over the fact that they didn't adjust the model in the old picture of Spider-Man they keep showing, so either this guy is incredibly small or Peter's wearing a muscle suit, and it's kind of fun either way. 4 out of 10. Not a lot to say about these ones, just kinda eh. The cultural museum missions are actually pretty good on paper. Spider-Man has to stop thieves from stealing these historical instruments and discover who's really behind it. Okay, maybe not. But I do think these missions had potential to be really good, but they just fall flat because of two main reasons. One, these missions feel kind of preachy. Something about the dialogue and the way it's presented just doesn't sit right with me. And two, the villain, the one who's really behind it, is this guy. I don't know, it's just a Scooby-Doo ass reveal that you can see coming a mile away, and it just leads to it being very uninteresting. 4 out of 10. Now, I have a bone to pick with these Prowler missions because they're so boring. I don't think they could have made less interesting puzzles even if they tried. And the story in these missions is pretty much the same story as the last Prowler missions, but at least those ones had that goofy ass beat to make fun of in the end. Now we get to the big one, and my hottest take regarding the side missions. I really don't like the flame side missions at all, simply because the writing here is just really bad. Let's start with Wraith, because holy, they messed up bad. In the first game, Yuri was the police captain, and she'd help you out doing side quests and all that fun stuff. But then in the DLC, she kind of went crazy, stopped being a cop, and left this really disturbing crime scene for us to find. So you'd expect us to have to hunt her down and maybe ask some tough questions about morality along the way. Oh no, wait, what? Why is she all of a sudden some sort of master ninja able to go toe to toe with Spider-Man? It just doesn't make any sense. You know what else doesn't make any sense? Why does Peter let her go at the end of this mission? It's not like they resolved their differences with each other after her boss fight. They just kind of stopped arguing without any real resolution. And with how intense the mission in the DLC was, it's incredibly disappointing. Wait a minute. Oscorp just had another symbiote laying around? Also, if all the symbiotes were destroyed, how is it still here after the story? Wait. How do we still have a symbiote? Oh my god, this game. The Haley mission is really cringe. To make myself perfectly clear, I don't hate this mission because she's a girl or she's deaf or anything like that. I hate it because it's taking resources away from the other parts of this game that so desperately needed work, only to play as some girl who paints. Now, if this same mission was in a version of this game where the other side content surrounding it was engaging and worthwhile, we might be having a different conversation right now. But the other side content on the whole is really bad. So it's really hard for me to see this as anything other than a waste of resources in a game that desperately needed it in other areas. Much like the...
Alright, I'm not paying for this one. Pay for this.
Of all the things I thought were definitely going to be improved on, it was the crime system. Now, as much as I would love a dynamic system where there are different levels to crimes and you could fight supervillains every once in a while in a random boss fight, I knew that wasn't going to happen. But what I was expecting was getting what we already had expanded and improved on. Now the question is, did we get that?
Not a chance. Not this time.
I don't know how they did it, but they somehow managed to make the system worse from not only Miles Morales, but the first game too. It's not even like the systems in those games were great in the first place, but now it's just bad. It's quite simply a downgrade, and I was extremely disappointed. It's things like this that really contribute to my distaste for this game. Things that have been improved on previously in Miles Morales being either back to how they were in the first game, or straight up worse than they ever were. That's the kind of stuff that really frosts my ass. Speaking of frosting...
Ready?
Why did it take 4 months to be able to change the time of day in this AAA game? And why is it worse than it was in Miles Morales? I swear it feels like I'm being trolled at this point. They made it to where Miles' web wings glow red, and it makes it to where half of his suits just don't match the web wings at all. The wind tunnels are kinda dumb, and the only purpose they serve is just letting you not play the game. Also, the wind effects are tacky and pull me out of the game. Also, I hate that your feet glow red whenever you're in an air combo. I also hate that upgrade that leaves electric balls everywhere for Miles to get. They both kill my immersion when they're on screen. Okay, back to the video. Hold on, before you say anything, I know this is a weird thing to dedicate a whole section to, but hear me out. These podcasts are actually a really good case study for the difference in writing in these games. So in the first game, J. Jonah Jameson was pretty much exactly how you'd expect from a Spider-Man story. Big hater energy, you know the drill. But in Miles Morales, they introduce a new character called Danica. She loves Spider-Man, she's always right, and is really boring. In order to understand why she's so annoying, let's take a look at why J. Jonah Jameson actually works. So, On a fundamental level, J. Jonah Jameson serves a very unique role, in that he's less of a foil to anyone in the story, and more of a foil to you. Yes, you. Basically what I'm saying is that he's usually challenging you, and not Spider-Man. Whatever you're thinking, he's saying the opposite, and that's why he works so well. So with this in mind, what is Danica's role? Well, she's here to oppose Jameson. You see the problem here? Her role in these games essentially boils down to being a yes man whose sole purpose is to tell you that you're right and J. Jonah Jameson is dumb and wrong. And the worst part is she's so boring. She's not written with a comedic slant or anything. She's just the one who's unambiguously right all the time. It's like they just forgot what the word nuance meant. And that goes for all the main cast, but Miles and his crew get it the absolute worst. Take his best friend Genki, for example. He's just the sweetest guy who's always ready to help. He's a tech genius and is totally okay running the biggest website in New York City by himself, which would basically be a full-time job, for absolutely zero compensation just to help his buddy. Almost every character is like this. It's like Insomniac lost all their character writers after the first game and replaced them all with Twitter keyboard warriors. Hell, Electro got more characterization and relatability with one line than most of these characters get in this entire video game. Don't believe me? Watch this.
No, Adrian! It's me, Spider-Man!
What are you babbling about?
Nobody ever gets my joke.
A few moments later.
Spider-Man! I must break you!
You got it! You got my joke!
I hope you see my point.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
So let's just get this out of the way right now. Peter definitely got nerfed. Scenes like the fridge scene where Peter loses when he shouldn't are a pretty big problem. You cannot convince me that Spider-Man, a guy who dodges bullets like it's nothing, was outclassed in reaction time by a normal girl. I'm sorry, you just can't. This scene and scenes like it, and there are a lot in this game, are a double problem. And you remember how hard they went out of their way to make Peter look as cool as humanly possible in the first game. So it makes him losing like this extra lame when he was doing shit like this in the first game.
I guess this is the plan! You got this, you got this, you got this! Please don't screw this up!
He also has no negative character traits before he gets the symbiote in this game. So when he does get the symbiote and starts being a jerk, it doesn't feel natural and just turns into the symbiote putting thoughts in his head. And it's just really lame. The reason for this is Peter's insecurity in not being able to save everyone is barely even developed and could have easily been expanded on. For example, do you remember this scene?
Sorry! Harry? Pete?
Well, what if you switch that scene around just a bit and have Peter actually lose his grip and drop them, but have Harry come in at the last minute and save them? This little tweak in how this scene goes down not only helps Harry seem heroic, but also gives Peter a reason to feel guilty about not being good enough. Instead of just having Peter say he feels like he wasn't good enough in a dream sequence at the end of the arc. Because as of now, it just feels like the symbiote makes you evil, which is so very, very wrong. And that segues perfectly into our next segment.
What did he say?
He just sucks. Kraven himself barely has a role in the story, and for a guy who calls himself Kraven the Hunter, he does very little hunting for himself. He's more like Kraven the Gladiator than anything. Also, it really doesn't help that he kills off like half the Sinister Six off screen. Do you realize how crazy playing as Spider-Man, trying to stop Kraven from hunting and killing the Sinister Six would go? That shit would be so cool! But instead, the Sinister Six get relegated to these goofy-ass booths like it was Comic-Con or some shit. Oh, and also he has cancer.
That's an awfully hot coffee pot.
Oh boy, where do I even start? I guess I'll start with Harry because there really isn't that much to say. He basically has no character traits aside from a vague desire to heal the world and being a nice guy, I guess. He's just a piece of plain white toast. But when he finally gets the symbiote, he goes from very boring to extremely infuriating because this character is Venom in name only. He doesn't hate Peter at all. He spends the whole third act being like, "Do you want to be my friend? Please be my friend, Peter, please." I need to know how they messed him up this badly. It's honestly impressive. massive. Right now you might be wondering why I'm so upset. It's because this game did everything I hoped they wouldn't with Venom. Let me pull it back and talk about what exactly I want from a Venom story. In the best adaptations, Venom can easily be the most terrifying and intense villain in comics, period. He has an unparalleled ability to threaten Spider-Man, not only physically, but he can wage a mental warfare against Spider-Man like no one else. He knows Peter's secret identity, is immune to his spider sense, and most importantly, wants nothing more than to destroy Spider-Man and make him suffer. Now you might say that it's a new adaptation and I have no reason to expect that, and you'd be right, except they straight up lied to us and no one talks about it. It's insane to me because no one made them say this. They just lied to everyone for no reason. This shit is straight up befuddling. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. Even if they didn't say this, I would still be disappointed. Do not get me wrong. But my frustration with this game would not be nearly at the level it is now if they just never put this tweet out. It unironically feels like clickbait in hindsight. It's just so strange that Insomniac felt the need to lie. It's almost like they knew what people wanted and still went through with it.
I knew that those missions weren't the fan favorites coming out of Spider-Man 1. She's a little OP. I don't give a shit.
Oh. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Playing as MJ sucks, and I don't understand why they keep trying to shoehorn her sections into these games. A lot of them are just weirdly forced into the plot, and the only one I think makes perfect sense is the one where she goes under the bridge chasing Peter. I think that section was actually great, incredibly tense, and it makes total sense for the characters. No notes, good job. Alright, back to complaining. Why in the world is MJ all of a sudden John Wick? It's just so funny watching this lady take down dozens of fully trained hunters and alien monsters, all because she had like 3 weeks of Simkarian training. It unironically has the same vibe as the Tibetan monk jokes from the Brave and the Bold cartoon.
Don't bother with the mind control, Grodd. I'm blocking it with a technique I learned in Tibet.
Now, I could go through each and every one of these missions and break them all down, but I don't really want to do that. So we're going to focus on the one that ticks me off the most. So, in the final mission of the game, Peter, Miles, and MJ make the worst plan I have ever heard. So let me break this down. Peter goes to distract Venom and run the ones. Okay, makes sense so far. So then Miles goes to distract the symbiotes while MJ breaks in to steal the rock? So you mean to tell me that Peter not only took the love of his life to fight off an alien invasion, but also sent her into the alien base with nothing but a pistol and Simkarian training, while Miles, the guy with superpowers who can literally turn invisible, just hangs around outside? The fact that any of them went along with this plan is baffling, and the reason it's like this is so that we can play as MJ in the final mission. But why? We could have had a scene as Peter where we get chased around the city by Venom, like this concept art, or a scene where we raid the alien base as Miles. But no, instead we get to play the MJ of us. Man, they did Miles so dirty in this game. It's a shame too, because his story really did have the potential to be a classic Spider-Man story if they had just tried, man. But they just didn't, and as it stands, his story is a mess. So Mr. Negative escapes. Miles says he wants revenge, but he just does side quests for 8 hours while Peter actually gets to have a plot. Then Kraven kidnaps Miles, makes him and Mr. Negative fight, helps Mr. Negative escape, and then they make up. That's it. He has almost no connection to the main plot and no real plot of his own, so it just comes across as Miles saying he wants revenge on Martin Lee, but doing nothing about it. Like he'll say, I gotta go find Lee, but then proceed to chase a truck full of criminals stealing a drum set for an hour. There is a story of Miles grappling with wanting revenge in here, but for some reason the game didn't even bother, and it's just so sad seeing Miles' story getting dumpstered like this.
Actually...
I don't know how, but this game somehow feels rushed and bloated at the exact same time. It's like Insomniac had all their priorities in all the wrong places, with so many missions where you're forced to go through boring ass man sections, missions that are way longer than they have any right to be, or the game being 1 step forward and 2 steps back in terms of game design in general. It's clear this game needed more time in the oven. But the biggest problem with this game, on a fundamental level, is that it doesn't pass the vibe check. It doesn't feel like a Spider-Man story. The past 2 games, despite their flaws, both feel like Spider-Man stories, but I think they lost the plot with this game. Maybe it's because of everything I've been raving about for the past however long this video is, or maybe it's something deeper. All I know is that this game didn't make me feel like Spider-Man, and it didn't make me feel like I had the exaggerated swagger of a black teen. So what was even the point? Whew. This video took a lot of effort to get out there, and big thanks to like all these people on screen right now. I didn't have time to go back and play the game, get footage for myself, so without any of these amazing YouTubers right here, I would not have been able to get this video made. So big thank you to every one of y'all. And 1,000 likes in 24 hours and I'll make a Christmas special. Okay, bye.